Hey guys, welcome to my Blender tutorial series, and this tutorial will be going over how to animate in Blender. Again, if you missed the last tutorial, you can go down to the playlist in the description and you can watch it. Without further ado, let's get right into today's tutorial. So, here we are in Blender, we're doing animation today. Usually I'd want you to delete both the camera and the light, but in this case we can only delete the light. We'll add one later. But we'll have the cube here and we'll have the camera. Now, two important shortcuts to remember as you're working on today's tutorial is you tap 0 on the numpad to snap to where your camera is, and if you're selecting the camera and you click Control Alt 0, it snaps the camera to your view. Right? So wherever I'm looking, like let's say I'm looking really close at the cube, right? Control Alt 0, and here it is. The camera's also looking really close, like where I was a minute ago, right? And so for now, we'll just have it here. And yes, let's get to animating. So here we have our timeline here, and here's the easiest way to animate in Blender. So now we do have this cube, and let's say we wanted to move around like this on the Shift Z around here and then back to the middle. So first we'll add a timeline or a keyframe here by selecting it, going to 0 or 1 in this case, and tapping I. Now I is for insert keyframe. You can insert all of these. I usually just do only the ones you'd need. So if this was in this case, this is location but not rotation, and not scale either. We're not going to be messing around with the scale unless we want to, in which case we could do location scale. So let's just do that. The beginning location scale, and at the end, since we wanted to get back to where we started, let's play for a decent amount. The animation will play, and around here it'd be done, right? Around 90 frames. So you can just I. Again, if you tap I in here, it says insert keyframe in all channels, only select the channels and active group. It kind of modifies the keyframes here. That's why you have to go back into the actual view and click on location scale again. And now we have only the keyframes will only pop up if you selected the object. So right now we have it, and it's kind of orange, right? In between, that's because right now there's no motion in between the two keyframes. So we're gonna add motion. So let's say after a bit, here, let's move this here. So what this does basically is until this point it doesn't move at all, and then the animation starts. So here we can, let's say around here, we'll move this to kind of this corner. So and then we can tap I, location scale, and now as you can see, now the second one's really slow because of the distance, and the first one's really fast. So we want to add another fast one, going to the other end of the corner this time, another I, and then here we'll go to here, and then we'll tap another I, then we'll move 10 ahead again, we'll go here, we'll tap I again. And now you might be wondering, oh, we're tapping I way too much, this is not necessary. Again, if you're only going to do rotation location updating, or you're only going to do the one that you're moving, like if I'm moving location, of course, then I'd be only updating my location, right? It's not updating my rotation or my scale. So I can just turn on this, which is called Blender auto keying, in which case I can just move the timeline, move it, and there's a key, move it, and there's a key, move it, and there's a key. That would have been way simpler, but I want to show you guys how to keyframe first, the default keyframe, by tapping I. Obviously, if you want to be more precise, you can tap I. As you can see, this is pretty simple animation, and now there's different types of keyframes. So let's say I want this keyframe. By default, it's a Bezier keyframe. That means it'll start off slow, it'll accelerate, and it'll decelerate at the end. You can have a linear keyframe, so go to keyframe interpolation mode, and if you type linear, it's all just the same speed throughout the entire thing, and it says abrupt stop at the end. Or you could do constant, which is it just snaps, just, you know, there's no delay. Also, there's the other ones. There's bounds. There's a lot of other stuff, right? But by default, usually you want Bezier or linear, maybe constant, but mostly that'd be only for camera moment and stuff. So once we selected it to Bezier, you can just move it around, and this is the animation really. We wanted to scale it around, right? And you see the issue with auto keying, again in Blender, in like one certain frame you can only have one key. Obviously, you can have one key in different objects. Like both of these objects could have a certain keyframe at a certain second. But for one object, only one keyframe can happen. So right now, as you can see, when we move in our camera, you can't really see much. It really gets out of frame. Now you might be thinking, obviously we can see a bit more, but this is the outline, so where the camera sees. So if you're in this view and you tap home, it'll just snap to how much you see. Again, there's a little buffer zone here because this length and all that can be changed. But for the most part, this is accurate, right? So this gray part is where they can see. I prefer to have it a little out so I can see what I'm missing out to correct it. But as you can see, it's way too far. We're too close in. So you want to select camera, do Control-Alt-0, and still a bit too far. Now that's better. Now you can see everything happening. Or since the bottom is still kind of being cut out a bit, here as you can see, we can still go out some more, and that should be more than enough. Oops, more. Alright, now this is good, right? And now this is a very boring camera angle. It's really just sitting from one place, and it's kind of lame. So what you want to do, obviously our cube for now is done. You can go into specific keyframes, and you could change its size and go back to location scale. And now as you can see, it gets bigger and then gets smaller again. And then so we can add one, make it get bigger a bit here too. And then maybe at the end it gets really small. We could do that. So it's all really up to you. And so here now there's changing sizes. You could also, if you really want to get detailed, you could also rotate it and make this a location, rotation, and scale one. But that wouldn't work because then all of these other ones are only location and rotations, if you understand. So that means it'll stay the same rotation the entire way around. And now, like I said earlier, all this is fine and dandy, but now the camera is still in the same place, and that's really boring. So we'll go over to the 10 frames. We'll put, or we'll just do auto keyframing, right? And right now you're on here, you want it to be on this frame, but it's not moving. Just select it, tap G or scale or something, and just click. And now it's all keyframed into here. And now you can move a bit. As the camera's moving, you can zoom it in a bit more, and you can put one here. And now as you can see, it's slowly rotating. Of course, that was a bit too fast, but if you put linear, then it's fine. And also, if we move this all the way to 100, which is where the cube's frame ended, then as you can see, I can just very slowly show all this, right? And right now, obviously, it's a bit trippy since the size of the cube makes it look like the cube's actually going backward and forward, because we don't have any floors. You can just Shift A and add a plane really quick and just scale it up. And to make it a bit better, you can just change the color of the plane so you can see what the cube is doing. So let's just write in gray, and we'll put in a faint gray, and and now obviously you can't see the color, so you move over to material preview mode. And so now you might be wondering, what I put gray, why is it not gray? That's because right now, the entire thing, the only material it's using is material. So you click on it, you assign gray, and now the thing is gray. So you want to move it down a bit because of the way the cube is shaped. And so now, hopefully, after all this, you can turn off auto keyframe. And yeah, that's really it. So that's it for today's tutorial. Thank you all for watching. And I haven't mentioned this before, but if you guys have any questions, please put it in the comments and I'll gladly answer your questions. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.